Now, when it comes to filming YouTube videos, I have 3 different setups. My main YouTube setup, my desktop setup, and my vlogging setup. So if you want to know what gear and equipment I'm using for all 3 of these setups, and by the way, I am not a YouTube tech bro, I am a girl who likes to make videos in a simple, hassle-free way, then keep on watching. First, let's talk about my main talk to camera setup. This is when I do talking head videos like this one, and it's exactly what you're watching right now. Now, obviously, I'm using the camera, the microphone, the everything right now, so I can't show you what I'm using because I'm using it. And so let me turn this around and show you exactly what's going on behind the scenes. This is the backdrop of my main YouTube setup, but this is my actual YouTube setup. It looks simple because it is. All right, so this is my baby. This is my main YouTube camera. It is the Sony ZV-E10. I love that it has this side flip screen. I cannot stand cameras that have the flip screen up here because it blocks the microphone. I have it in the color white. I upgraded from the Sony ZV-1. That's the camera that I used to use in a lot of my old videos, but I like this camera because you can actually change the lens. I also really like this camera because it's Sony. I am loyal to Sony because I just love the autofocus on Sony. I just feel so much safer filming my videos knowing that the camera's already doing a really great job making sure I, the star of the show, is in focus. Not to mention, I love how lightweight this is. And the reason why is I am a small girly. You know, my arms are not that strong, and so I cannot be bothered to carry really heavy cameras. Even if I do sit down videos, it's just not the vibe. And so that's why I like this camera a lot. I also forgot to mention, I really like this camera because almost every YouTuber has this camera. I am a basic bitch. I have learned the hard way that it actually is so helpful to buy a camera that a lot of people own. I find that buying really mainstream cameras works best for me because when I have a camera that I know so many YouTubers also use, I'm able to go on YouTube and search tons of tutorials on how to set it up. Versus, I remember once I had a camera that like barely anyone used, even though it was a really good camera, but I literally could not use the camera to its maximum potential because I had no idea how to work it. And so that is also why I chose the ZV-E10. All right, let's talk lenses because a lot of times the videos that you like watching is likely not because of the camera itself, it's because of the lens. Lenses change everything about a camera. And in fact, I would rather you spend less on the camera and more on the lens because the lens just makes the biggest difference. But anyways, the lens that I use for my videos, specifically my talking head videos nowadays, is the ultra wide Sony 11mm f.18. Now, if you're like me, those are literally all just numbers. I have no idea what it means, but what I do know is that this is an ultra wide lens, which means it's going to show more of my space, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, back then I was using a really mainstream lens called the Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens. It's basically the lens that allows you to have really nice blur in the background and is wide enough for you to be able to see, you know, your space, your office, and all of that. But one thing that kind of bothered me over time was that it kind of cut out my shelf. And I really wanted to flex my YouTube plaque. And it really bothered me that I couldn't do that. And so that is why I decided to opt for an ultra wide lens, which would then show way more of my office, way more of my wall. Now, the one thing though that I did not really love about the Sigma lens, the one that, you know, gave a lot of bokeh, is that it was also a really heavy lens. So whenever I put it on my camera, I basically could not vlog with it because it was so big and so chunky and so heavy. Whereas with this lens, it is so short, it is so light, and in fact, because it's ultra wide, you're gonna be able to vlog with this lens as well, especially if you plan on just investing in one camera. Finally, another reason why I really like this lens is because it's ultra wide, it basically means that I can stand way closer to the camera and it's not gonna look like I'm super close. I feel a lot more comfortable when I'm as close to the camera as possible because it creates intimacy for me. It just makes me feel more comfortable versus when a lens isn't wide enough, it's gonna require me to step way back. And number one, I'm not gonna be able to reach my camera, so I'm gonna need a remote to either stop record or record. And it also makes me feel like I'm presenting if my camera is too far. And so that's also why I really like having wider lenses because that allows me to be super close and still not look like I'm that close to the camera. Just to give you a visual of how different lenses cause you to be closer to the camera versus farther from the camera, I compared all three of these lenses with my Sony ZV-E10. So this is how close I am to the camera. As you can see, I could even hit the record button from here, and I am actually not too far away from the camera. This is me using the kit lens that comes with the Sony ZV-E10. I'm still touching the camera, but you can see I'm really close to the screen. I would have to step way back in order to have the same effect, and I definitely would not be able to touch the screen from here. Now, in case you were curious, this is the Sigma 16mm lens as comparison, and the one thing I really like is when you get close to the lens, the background becomes really blurry. If you put something in front of it, the background also gets really nice and blurry, which a lot of YouTubers like, but I still have to stand pretty far from the camera in order to get my waist up, which is typically what I like. I like having my videos chest up, and I can't touch the camera from there, but it does have this really nice blurry effect. Moving on to this guy right here. This is the microphone that I use. It is the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. It is a shotgun mic, and I find it to meet my needs. It has really good audio. I have no complaints about it. There are definitely cheaper microphones out there. I used to use the Rode Video Go, I think. I'll put it here, and it worked really fine, but what I did notice is that when I filmed in certain areas of my home, there was a huge echo, whereas with this, that echo is significantly reduced because this is a higher quality microphone. And just for comparison's sake, here's how the Rode Video Pro Plus sound side by side next to the Rode Video Micro.
These are the top outdated YouTube tips that you should stop doing immediately because it's killing your channel.
But I ultimately decided that this life ain't for me, and I peaced out and I shocked my corner of the internet. All right, next let's talk about this long guy right here, which is my camera stand. This is the newer carbon fiber 66-inch camera stand or tripod or however you want to call it. And there are two reasons why I really like it. Number one, it is high quality. All right, I used to cheap out on camera stands. I bought plastic camera stands for like 30 bucks off Amazon. And guess what? Those camera stands, they are so easily able to knock over. And if you want to protect your moneymaker, you want to protect the thing that's giving you a career or the thing that will give you a career, you are going to want to invest in a heavy duty camera stand. Like this does not move. It is pretty heavy. Not only this, I also like that it is a longer tripod, so it gets pretty tall. You can also make it shorter if you'd like. I am that lunatic that likes to stand while filming. I feel more confident when I'm standing. And so those are the two reasons why I like this camera stand. And I hope you like it too. Now for me, when I am filming talking head videos, I could be filming for 3 to 4 hours depending on how many mistakes and mess ups that I have. That is exactly why it is so crucial for me to make sure my camera doesn't die. And instead of spending all my money on buying multiple backup batteries or risking the fact that my camera might die, it might disrupt my filming process, I'm gonna have to recharge, what I have is a dummy battery. So what you'll notice is my camera is actually connected to the wall. This ensures that my camera won't ever really die and it is always on. What it looks like is, it just looks like this. It's like a little fake battery that is actually plugged to the wall. And so if I actually turn on my camera, you'll see that it powers on. Hi guys! And this is all because it is plugged to the wall. To find a dummy battery that works for your camera, just simply go on Amazon, search up your camera model with the keyword dummy battery, and there should be a lot of dummy battery options that show up if your camera supports that type of function. Now on the topic of accessories, you'll also want a Bluetooth remote. This is especially handy when you cannot reach your camera or you do not want to get out of your seat to hit record or stop record. So when you have a Bluetooth enabled remote, just with the click of a button, you're going to be able to record your video and also stop recording even if you are far away. Now to find a Bluetooth remote that is compatible with your camera, you're going to want to go on Amazon, search up your camera model plus the keyword Bluetooth remote, and you'll be able to see all the different options that are compatible with the gear that you are using. Now, when it comes to the type of memory card I am using for my Sony ZV-E10, it is the SanDisk Extreme Pro in 256 gigabytes. Now, I recommend to not cheap out on the memory card for a few reasons. Number one, do not cheap out on the storage size. I remember when I was starting YouTube, I got a 16 gigabyte memory card because it was cheaper, but what I found was that it was definitely not enough storage. You are going to be so surprised by how much storage it takes to film a single video. And one of the worst things that can happen, other than your battery dying, is you running out of space on your memory card and you having to interrupt your filming session to free up space on your memory card, or maybe even force yourself to delete files that you don't actually want to delete. So make sure you get a big enough memory card size. For me, 256 gigabytes has never done me wrong. Another reason why you want to make sure you pay attention to getting the right memory card is because you want a memory card that is compatible with your camera and the type of videos you are filming. There's actually a lot of cheaper memory cards out there that aren't compatible with 4K filming, and nowadays a lot of videos on YouTube are in 4K. Now, a little hack to make sure that your memory card can write 4K videos is to check out this symbol right here that says V30. Any memory card that has the symbol V and a number next to it, as long as the number is over 30, it means that it is compatible with 4K filming. All right, now that we've talked about my main camera and my main microphone for my main YouTube setup, let's talk about the lights that I use. Now, this is the Amaran 100X LED lights, and what I like about it is with a simple flick of a button, you can power it on, and I can control how yellow the light is going to be. See, it's turning real yellow right now, and I can also control how cool toned the light is going to be, as well as how dim I want it, and also how bright I want it. So you can see that it is dialing up, and it's really just these two buttons plus the on and off button. So it's very simple. And just so that you guys can compare, this is what it looks like with my main light off. And now this is with the lights on. As you can see, lighting can make a huge difference, especially if you're filming in the evenings. Now, another thing to know about my lighting is I actually have this attachment right here, and this is the Godox lantern softbox. And so if I did not have this attachment and I only had this LED light, it would be very, very, very freaking harsh on my face. And so by having something like this that diffuses the light, it allows the lighting to be a lot more natural on me. And this is the lighting that you see in a lot of my previous videos using my main YouTube setup. All right, now that we've covered all the equipment that brings my main YouTube setup to life, which is the scene that you're watching right now, let's take it over to my desk so I can show you my desktop setup. Now, typically when I film at my desktop, it's usually because I'm sharing my screen, or maybe it's a really tutorial heavy video. Not only this, when I'm filming a longer video and I want to increase the engagement on my video and spice things up and make things interesting, I'll sometimes bounce between the different scenes. So for example, when I am using my main YouTube setup, the background that you guys see is this office right here. Whereas when I'm using my desktop setup, the background you'll see is this corner of my office. And when I am vlogging, which is with this camera right here, which I'll talk about later, you'll see basically all that is happening in my life and my environment. For example, did you know Nugget has been chilling here the whole time? All right, so when it comes to the camera that I use at my desk, it is the Sony a6400 paired with the Sigma 16mm f.14 lens that I was talking about earlier in this video. Now, of course, you could use your regular YouTube camera. You don't need multiple cameras for this, but I have two different cameras because I've been doing YouTube for the last 5 years. I've probably gone through 4 to 5 different cameras. And so rather than letting my cameras collect dust or me selling them, I like to just bring them back out and reuse them in different ways. Now, the reason why I don't use the Sony a6400 as my main YouTube camera is because I just don't like this screen and how it flips up. I like screens that flip to the side because, like I said earlier, when there is a microphone, and I like using shotgun mics, it covers the screen so I can't see myself. But I do find that this works perfectly fine as a webcam, perfectly fine at my desktop, and perfectly as a secondary camera for me. Now, how I am able to attach the camera onto my desk is using this Manfrotto arm. And not only this, I also have a tripod ball head, and everything will be linked in the description box below. And so this attaches to this attaches to that, and then this attaches to my desk, and that's how everything kind of comes together. When it comes to the cables, and I'll explain all these cables later, we also did a little bit of cable management here so that the cables aren't all over the place, and this is how we can achieve this super clean look. Not only this, with this Manfrotto arm, I can just twist this little knob right here, and I'm able to move the camera however I want. Aside from the knob down there, I can also twist this tripod ball head, and I'm able to move the camera around as well. And then when I have a position that I like, I can just quickly lock it in place. So it's really simple to set up, and I really like the flexibility of it, so I can change up my scenes. Now, if you are someone who just wants to film YouTube videos at a different angle right at your desk, then you can end things right here. Just pop on your regular YouTube microphone, put in your regular memory card, and then hit record directly. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. But if you want to take things a step further and use your camera as a webcam, especially if you like to film tutorials, maybe you're a course creator, or maybe you go to a lot of virtual conferences, or you just want to look more professional in your meetings, then the next thing that you're going to want is a 4K capture card. This is from Elgato, and this is how I connect my DSLR or mirrorless cameras into my desktop. And how it works is I have a micro HDMI to HDMI cable, and by the way, the cable that you get really depends on the camera model that you have. But for me, for my Sony a6400, because I know that on the side of that camera requires a micro HDMI cable, that's how I was able to figure out what type of cable I needed. And so you might want to do a little bit of research on what specific cable you need. But in my case, I use my micro HDMI to HDMI cable to connect my camera into the capture card. And then once it's connected, I put the capture card into the USB slot of my desktop. Once you've plugged in your capture card, you're then going to be able to select your Camlink capture card wherever you're filming videos or your tutorials or doing meetings on, and it's going to automatically connect your camera and turn it as a webcam. Okay, let's talk about this microphone that I have here. It is the Shure SM7B, and the mic arm that it's on is the Elgato Wave low profile arm in white. Now, unlike other microphones that are more plug and play, it's USB, you just put it in your computer, this is actually a dynamic microphone which require a lot more other equipment in order for it to work. In fact, this microphone is the same microphone a lot of top podcasters and even celebrities use. For many creators, it's going to be overkill, and so if you are a beginner, I do not recommend this, and instead you should just get a USB mic. But if you are someone who is invested in content creation, you do it full time, and you're making enough money for you to justify something like this, then keep watching because I have a little tutorial on all the equipment that I use to make this microphone work. Now, as you can see, it sounds really complicated, and that is because it is. And by the way, I am using my Shure SM7B right now. This is my desktop setup that you'll typically see in my tutorials. Anyways, let me break this down in layman terms. First, you got your Shure SM7B, your dynamic microphone. Next, you'll want an XLR cable, specifically a male to female XLR cable. Next up, you connect that XLR cable to the cloud lifter. This is optional, but it allows you to get the most out of this expensive ass microphone. It basically adds more power to your microphone and makes it sound a little bit better. And then next, you get another XLR cable and connect that to an audio interface. The one that I'm using is the Revelator IO24. You can go on Amazon and search up audio interface, and you'll see a bunch of different options that meet your budget. This is basically the motherboard of controlling the volume of this microphone, controlling the gain, and then it ultimately allows you to connect this microphone to your computer. Now, to connect it, you'll need a USB-C cable. Now, typically, the audio interface that you buy will already come with that cable, so hopefully you don't have to buy that. And then finally, you're able to connect it to your computer. Now, obviously, you have to buy a lot of shit to make sure that this microphone works. And so rather than getting all of this crap, in order to use this fancy microphone that all these celebrities and all these top podcasts use, you can instead just get a USB microphone where you just use a USB cable and plug it into your computer directly. Now, obviously, with these microphones, they're not going to be as good and as crisp as the Shure SM7B. But if you are just starting out in your journey and you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on this type of equipment, you can just simplify and use this instead. And when you are ready to upgrade and when you are ready to invest that money, well, you can come back to this video and follow this tutorial because this is as simple of an explanation as it gets. Now at this point of the video, we have covered my main YouTube setup, we've covered my desktop setup, and now let's talk about my vlogging setup, which is what you've been watching for a lot of this video. Now, when I want to do a more vlog style video, I'll typically switch between my iPhone 14 Pro Max or my DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now, I love the DJI Pocket 3 for a few reasons. Number one, it films in 4K. A lot of vlog cameras that are smaller, that are more compact, and that are travel friendly don't necessarily have 4K filming capability. And so I really love that about the DJI Osmo Pocket. I also love that it fits in my purse. And so if I'm out and about, it's a lot easier to film with rather than using my Sony ZV-E10 or my Sony a6400. Not to mention, the DJI Osmo Pocket is also a gimbal camera, meaning that when I am moving around, it is a lot more smooth versus if I was using my iPhone. You would see that the footage is not as fluid and many viewers would actually get nauseous. Now, of course, you're still gonna get nauseous as I move around here, but it is a lot more smooth. The DJI Osmo Pocket also has face detection. So right now it is actually tracking my face. And if I were to set the camera down and I move, it will still track my movements. So how cool is that? That means if you are filming a day in the life and I want to go all the way over here to show you something, it will actually follow me and I don't even need a video person to follow me around in my home. And so that is what I also love about this freaking camera. And by the way, if you get the creator combo package, you can actually get a microphone. Oh my God, it's tracking my face, you can't see it, but I'm wearing a microphone right now. And so farther I go, you can still hear me and you know, it's not going to be quiet and you can actually have great audio. If you get the creator combo, it also comes with an extra battery as well as a little tripod stand so you can actually put your camera down and it's not gonna fall over. Now, another reason why I stinking love this camera is because I can not only film horizontally like this, which is great for long form videos, now I am filming in vertical mode, which is so cool. And even in vertical mode, it is now tracking my face. And so, like I said, if I'm putting the camera down and I want to film a short form clip, an Instagram reel, or a TikTok, now I can do it and I don't need anyone to be helping me with filming. And especially with the microphone, my audio is super crisp. And so I love the versatility of this camera, the fact that I can film horizontally and vertically like this. Last but not least, another reason why I love this vlogging camera is because you can use the DJI Osmo app to control your camera using your phone. And so in your phone, you're able to control the camera and you're able to review what you look like before filming. Rather than relying on the small screen, which you can actually use your phone and look back at your old footage before you decide if you want to delete it or not. You can also use the app to directly download the videos to your phone, and this is especially handy if you are doing short form videos. Now, if you are someone who is watching this video and you are absolutely sold on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which by the way, I highly recommend, then the next thing that you might need is a memory card. So the one that I use is the SanDisk Extreme Pro 512 gigabyte memory card. Now, the reason why I opt for a way higher memory card is because usually when I'm vlogging, I take up a lot more space and I have a lot more footage, especially if you're doing day in the life vlogs. Typically, it is a lot more footage than your average talking head video. And so that's why, for me, to be safe, I have a 512 gigabyte memory card. Now, at this point of the video, I really did not gatekeep a single thing, and we went through all 3 different setups that I have. Now, if you are someone who is serious about starting YouTube this year, or maybe you want to refine your strategies, then I want you to hit the subscribe and notification bell, because in my next video, I'm gonna share all the things that I wish I knew before I started YouTube that would actually get me more subscribers and more views than I have today. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss that video. As always, guys, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.